Hi, my name's Isaac. And this is the all-new 2024 Chevy Colorado Z71. And today, I'm gonna review it for you guys. Starting out up front on the Z71, you might be wondering, wait a minute, Isaac, what does Z71 mean? Does it stand for anything? Originally, in the 1970s, Z71 was just one of many internal General Motors chassis codes. So you'd have this big chassis, they'd call it the Z71, and it wasn't really for public use, but at some point, enthusiasts found out about it and started saying, yeah, I got the Chevy with the Z71. And eventually, General Motors capitalized on that by making Z71 an official trim package. In some cases, it was just a graphics package, but a lot of the time, it did give you some actual off-road prowess, like here on this truck. It has a 2-speed transfer case and an automatic rear locker. Here on the front end, you'll get LED headlights, LED daytime running lights, and incandescent turn signals. You'll also get LED fog lights on the Z71, then a Z71 badge right here, a blacked out Chevy bow tie, and then moving all the way down here, you have red tow hooks. The Colorado itself actually has 2 other off-road trims that are available. The Trail Boss, which starts a little bit below this price-wise, and the ZR2, which starts above this. Is this the best? The just right off-road trim? Would Goldilocks buy it? Okay, I can't definitively say if Goldilocks would buy it or not, but I can definitively say this is powered by a 2.7-liter Turbo Max 4-cylinder, making 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. It is wild that we can get that much power out of a 4-cylinder now. And that engine is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Moving to the profile of the Z71, you're going to get Goodyear Wrangler 265/65R tires here, around 18-inch wheels. I really like the gunmetal gray silver look of the wheels, and I appreciate that you get all-terrains here that are a little beefier than your standard all-season tire. Then moving up here, you'll have a Colorado badge, a gloss black mirror cap. You'll get blind spot monitoring incorporated into the mirrors, and they are power adjusting. Then there is keyless entry on the driver and passenger side, which is always good to see. So tap that if you have the key in your pocket, and you can tap that again to unlock it. Very useful. You don't have to go fishing around for your keys. Then I love how flared the fenders are. I think the lines in this truck overall are sweet. Like, look at this line right here that continues through and then goes up to the front fender. I think it's such a good look overall. It's a very, very aggressively styled truck. Here on the rear, you'll get a Z71 sticker and then a step, giving you easier access up into the bed of your truck. If you are looking to do that, it is much nicer than dropping the tailgate and jumping up onto that. You'll have parking sensors down here and a tow hitch. Fairly decent towing rating on this truck, so you can definitely tow if you want to. Another Colorado badge, and then it says Chevrolet stamped into the tailgate here. That's like on every truck nowadays. I think almost every truck has something stamped into the tailgate. Then you'll get a backup camera right here and a keyhole, though the tailgate does lock with the rest of the truck. So that must just be an emergency override if you need it. Dropping the tailgate, it is dampened and you get this cool design on the top. And it also has this amazing feature that I wish every truck had, and I'm disappointed to see that every truck doesn't, but I am glad to see it's here. If you push these 2 little levers out, you can actually lift this section of the tailgate up and use it as storage. You can put basically whatever you want in there. Throw some ice in there, cold drinks, have an actual tailgating party. You're actually using the tailgate. You can do that here on the Colorado. And then of course, when this is down, that does close up, so there's no way for anyone to access this if the tailgate's locked. So it really does provide you quite a bit of accessibility. Then over here, you get a 120 volt household outlet, which is always nice, so you can really use your bed I wish there was some LED bed lights in here, though it does have nice tie downs and a spray and bed liner, so it's still a very functional truck bed. The key is a pretty simple GM key. You'll get lock, unlock, panic, and remote start. Alpha Shark will be right back after a word from our sponsor. I don't know about you, but I don't really think about my car battery until I'm in a rush to get somewhere and I jump in my car and I find out my battery's dead. And I'm in the middle of an empty parking lot. Oh, come on! But thankfully, today's sponsor, Ancel, has a solution to this, the BA101 battery tester. So this is really simple. All I have to do is hook this up to the positive and negative on the battery while the vehicle is still running. And then I have quick test, battery in vehicle, out of vehicle, which is really useful to test old batteries. And then you have some other settings here, but we're gonna go to battery in vehicle. So I'll hit battery test here. It wants me to turn the headlights on for 10 seconds and then turn them off. So I'm gonna do that. Now that we're back, I'm going to click enter, regular flooded, CCA, and then this is 725 amps. So I'll hit enter there again and it's gonna test. And it's going to come back recommending that I replace the battery because the health is at 46%. With this tool, I can help my family, friends, and my coworkers know if they need to replace their battery soon. Ancel offers a variety of battery testers for any vehicle on their website. Don't wait to find out that you need a new battery until it's dead. Give Ancel a try today. I'll leave a link to their website in the description below. And now, back to the video. Moving to the interior of the Colorado Z71, there are a ton of features in here and some very, very premium materials, though there are also some materials that leave a little bit to be desired. Starting here with the seats though, they are incredibly comfortable. They're this leather material with power adjustment, power lumbar, and they're heated and ventilated. Right now, I have the ventilation going because it is like 92 degrees outside, and it's not 92 in here. It's very, very comfortable, and these seats feel very premium. Alternatively, though, if we move over to the door panel and start up here, as I often do, this is a hard touch plastic material, which is a little bit disappointing because you'd hope, since people rest their arms up here pretty often, this would be a little bit of a nicer material. Not the end of the world, but it is worth noting. Moving further down, you do get this softer, more rubberized, textured material, which I think a lot of people are gonna like. I found it to be a little bit coarse.
It's coarse.
For longer road trips, when you're resting your arm right here, for example, that can be a little rough.
Rough and irritating.
Almost kind of like sandpaper.
I don't like sand.
But continuing here on the door panel, you'll have lock and unlock, your power seat settings, your window controls, and your mirror controls. And I really like this climate vent right here. You kind of get that cool circular design. You can open and close it. It's very neat. Down here, you will have your trailer brake control, your latch to open your hood. Then you do have a pull tab down here to adjust the steering wheel manually with the tilting and telescoping. And then right here, you do have a little brightness adjuster for your digital gauge cluster screen and your infotainment screen. It's really interesting. I got to use it last night, and it doesn't just dim your screens, it kind of makes them this light gray color. It takes a lot of the brightness out of it. It's very odd. I've never seen anything like that before. I wonder if General Motors figured out that that's like the best for your eyes at nighttime. I honestly don't know, but I thought it was worth pointing out. Also worth pointing out is the fact that this only has one stalk on the steering wheel. There's no wiper and turn signal stalks separately. They're all incorporated into one thing, and it's a little bit complicated at first, but you can get used to it very quickly. Over here, you'll have your push button start, and then pulling back to the actual steering wheel itself. I really think this is comfortably textured. It's that nice leather material again, and you have the cool red stitching that actually continues throughout most of the cabin in here, but this is Very nice to hold. You'll have heating built into it. I wouldn't be using that today, but you know, if you're in a state that it gets very cold in the wintertime, that is an added bonus. You'll have your radar guided cruise control settings over here, and then here are some of the buttons to control this digital gauge cluster. And there are some really neat features in here. Specifically, if I hit this one button, you can pull up your Google Maps, which is so cool. Some vehicles have had it for a little while, but I'm so happy to see it here on a pickup truck. It's just the coolest thing. I used this as often as I could throughout this week. I've really enjoyed that this is a feature. And of course, you can pull it up on your infotainment system screen, but it's kind of just better to have it out of your peripheral vision down here. I just really like that Chevy gives you the option to do that. Now, you also can pull up Apple Maps in case you were wondering. But if we click through here, there's a few other options that you can mess with. For one, with the off-roading features, you have your pitch and your roll right here, your steering angle. As I turn the steering wheel, see it tells us what the different angle is on the screen there. That's very useful. And there are quite a few things that you can sort through. If you want this kind of calm screen, you can have that. It is very neat, the optional customization that is built in here. I think that's really cool. And then behind the steering wheel, you'll have your volume control and channel changing on the other side. Moving over here to your infotainment screen, there is a ton built into this. For one, I like that it gives you a physical volume knob. That's always nice to see. It is very fast. It's got Google Assistant, Google Play, all these different things built in. You also do have CarPlay, of course, and Android Auto if you want. I like the functionality there. You can access some of the climate controls from in here, though thankfully there are physical buttons. I am so grateful that there are physical buttons, and you can just kind of click them, and you don't have to go into a bunch of screens to navigate changing your heated or cooled seats or just the different fan speeds. Now, unfortunately, you do have to go into the screen to mess with your headlight controls. That's something I really don't love here on the Colorado. It's just a little disappointing you have to go into the screens, but everybody is doing that. Everybody seems to be switching. So I have to give Colorado points for having physical climate controls, because a lot of manufacturers don't on some of their vehicles. But for example, if I wanted to turn the fog lights on, which I did for this video, I'd have to go into here, I'd have to click controls and then front fog lights. That's a little bit complicated and kind of annoying. I'm gonna guess it might do it automatically if you're on auto, but even let's say I just wanna have the running lights on, I still have to go into the screen instead of just turning a little dial or something down here. It's not the end of the world, but it's not something I'm thrilled with. There are, however, some other alternative features I really do like this off-road mode where you can go in and see an even more detailed 3D view of that pitch and roll. You can look at your Baja stuff right here, and gives you the option, if I can click it, overlanding right there, which is very neat. Again, unfortunately, when you click camera right here, it only has a backup camera. It does not have a 360-degree system camera on this particular truck. So I do wish if it at least had a front camera. That would be very nice. But for what you get, it is still a lot of different features and very usable off-road. I guess some people will probably say in the comment section like, oh, a front camera's cheating and so on and so forth. But for the price point, it would be nice to have. Just like it would be nice to have a sunroof for $46,000 as well. I do wish that was there, but I know that's not something that's going to be a deal breaker for everybody. I wouldn't even say it's a deal breaker for me. I just wish that that was a feature. I think one of the coolest modes here is air down mode. Basically what you can do is you can set a target PSI and then hit start, and as you go outside you can manually deflate your tires and the horn will beep when the target PSI is reached, so you can know exactly what your air pressure is in the tires if you're manually deflating them. That's very useful for off-roading. Moving further down, I like that as you turn your physical climate dials right here, you can change the temperature, which is very neat. And then down here you'll have climate vents, a button to put all your windows down at the same time, auto engine start stop, your hazards, lane keeping assist, and then an auxiliary button. USB and USB-C are down here, and you do get a wireless charger, which I always love to see. And I like that you have a traditional normal shifter. It's not a dial or a button or anything like that. You get a shifter in the tunnel here, and I think that's cool. Throwing it into reverse, just to talk a little bit more about that backup camera, it will actually bring your mirrors down, which is helpful. That is a useful thing. And as you turn the wheel, you do get guiding lines, and you also get a trailering camera and a zoom in if you're backing up to lock in a hitch. So that is really nice that they've at least included that. And then putting it back into park, you can see here on the mirrors, it'll move those back up. That's a nice little addition. And then down here, you will have your four-wheel drive selector, and you can just press this, but if you want to spin it, you can actually pull up off-road modes, tow haul, terrain, and then and you can go back to normal. So there are a few different settings that you can mess with in there, and they'll change on the fly, which is really cool. Down here, you'll have your electronic parking brake. You just pull that, it will engage it, it'll tell you, and then you just push it to turn it off. And then down here, you will get two cup holders. They continue that camo theme that you get on the wireless charger. And then opening up the center console, you get, well, you don't get this. This is my wallet and some Altoids and hand sanitizer. This is just on my truck right now, you know, that I'm using for this review. Don't expect to find my wallet in one of these if you end up purchasing a Colorado. But it does come with this little tray right here and a nice storage bin that has a 12-volt way down in there. I like that they've included that, and I like this tray. It's very useful. Now moving up here, you get a standard auto-dimming mirror, your lights up here for the dome lights, OnStar, and then as we move over here, you do get a pretty decently sized glove box. So that pretty much wraps up the front of the interior. Before we fully step into the rear seats, I'd just like to show that if you press this up, this is gonna be hard to do with one hand, but we got it. There is some storage down here, and as you can see, the front license plate cover is in there with your spare tire jack, but there's a little bit of accessibility if you'd like to put stuff in there, and then you can drop it. Hopping up inside here, you get a decent amount of legroom. I have probably 2 or 3 inches with where I'd sit at 5'9", and I'd say I have about 2 inches of headroom as well. Not super cramped, decently comfortable back here, and you have the added bonus of climate vents, USB and USB-C, and you can fold this armrest down for a spot to rest your arm or cup holders, and you have a manual window. I do wish this was automatic, but I like that you at least get the window. Definitely not a terrible place to spend time on a longer road trip. It's fairly comfortable and decently spacious back here. All right, driving the new Colorado Z71. This is exciting for me because I've had the opportunity to drive the work truck variant and the LT trim of the new Colorado, but this is the highest trim I've looked at so far, and it really just adds to the things that I already liked. I think the stance of this truck is great. It gives you a very commanding view out of the windshield. It really does make you feel like king of the road. I really like it, and that's rare on a mid-sized truck. It really does give you that big, bulky feel, but it is still a smaller overall form factor, especially compared to the Silverado. The acceleration is really nice with this 4-cylinder. It picks up quick, and it sounds pretty good. And the new transmission is much more responsive than the outgoing one. I really like what they've done there, and I know people will say, well, it's only a 4-cylinder. Why is it only available in a turbo 4-cylinder? Well, midsize trucks have always had 4 cylinders available as an option, but they also had V6s and V8s, especially for the last 20 years. But those began to die off, and now we're back to the 4-cylinder. Just like King Solomon says in the book of Ecclesiastes, nothing is new under the sun. We're just going back to how it used to be. And frankly, these 4 cylinders are actually offering more power. Long-term reliability remains to be seen. I think a lot of people jump on the bandwagon of like, well, there's no way it'll be as reliable long-term as my Atkinson Cycle V6. But we just have to wait and see. They very well could be 250,000 mile trucks. We don't know. My only major complaint with this truck is its price point and not having a sunroof or a 360 camera. I think it should have those things for $46,000, almost $47,000. It's just a feature that I think should be included. Even if it's not the highest quality camera, that would be something that would be very useful, especially off-roading. And I think a sunroof adds an extra element of luxury to the truck. And they are both options on this truck. They're just not here, and that's disappointing to me. But I'd still end up recommending this truck. If you can afford it and you're looking for a mid-size truck like this, it's definitely a very viable option amongst its competitors. Well, that's just about going to wrap up my review of this Chevy Colorado. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Before I go, though, I'd like to mention that I'm a Christian. And if you have any prayer requests, you can leave those in the comment section below. I'd love to be able to hear from you, and I'd love to be able to pray for you. And lastly, I like to close out on a scriptural reading. This week, I'm in the book of John, chapter 11, verse 35, which happens to be the shortest verse in all of the Bible. If you're looking to memorize scripture, this is a good place to start. John 11:35 says, Jesus wept. Okay, you might be thinking, but why did Jesus weep? What is the context of that? Well, Jesus' friend Lazarus had just died, and he came to visit Lazarus' sisters, and he knew he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. And everybody said, oh no, Jesus, you're too late, he already died. And as they began to weep, he saw them crying, and it says in the preceding verses that he was deeply moved and that he wept. Jesus knew he had the power to raise Lazarus, but it says in Scripture that he was fully God and fully man. And in that moment, he was overcome by emotions because losing a friend is really tough. And he saw the grief that these people had, and he himself was grieved by that. And so he wept. But the good news is that he went and then proceeded to raise Lazarus from the dead and to prove to everyone that he was the Son of God and that he did have the power to do that. So there's a little bit of context to that verse. If you're interested, you can always look it up. And I hope to see you guys again next time. And remember, no matter what vehicle you drive, I hope it lasts you a long time and it serves you well. Take care.